So we always like to start our meeting with land acknowledgement, to take a moment to recognize that here in Nevada, we stand on the land of the Washoe, Numi, Northern Paiute, Niue, Western Shoshone, and Niue, Southern Paiute, sorry. We take a moment to recognize and honor their stewardship that continues into today. With this recognition, we state an intention to rightfully include their voice and respect them as the 27 sovereign tribal nations of Nevada.
Wow, for taking time on your Sunday to join us. We're getting a nice turnout, it looks like, so we're really grateful. Today's program is going to be a little different than one of our meetings you've been to before. If you've been to our programs before, you know we usually focus on an issue in particular and have speakers around that issue. But today we're going to talk about volunteering. And like many organizations, progressive organizations that we've talked to, we've been receiving calls and emails asking how to get involved and with all that's happening with the Dodge decision, and people have realized we can't sit back and be depressed while our rights are taken away. We have to act. So this, we feel and we know this is a result of a 50-year conservative plan, and we need to all work together to fight for our rights. I just went to Long Beach. I was able to give Zoe Nicholson, who is a friend to Nevada Now and a longtime ERA activist, the Now's Women Lifetime Achievement Award for Zoe. And she is my inspiration. And she was talking about how we need to be the backlash, that we all have our individual issues, but we need to all work together because they're not going to stop at Roe and, you know, Supreme Court. But we also know when we say they, it's an all-encompassing conservative they. So whether you're an activist for the environment or gun rights or animal rights or voting rights, we all need to get together and elect pro-choice, pro-equality candidates. So today we're going to talk about things you can do to get involved in whatever way you can. And Nevada Now's priority issues, we'll be talking about those and how you can get involved with the state ERA ballot question, reproductive rights. We're working on a Dignity for Incarcerated Women bill, electing Nevada Now packet candidates, and we'll be talking about how you can help. So first I'm going to introduce the board, and then Sue's going to talk about our PAC candidates and the successes we had. And then I'm going to pass the rest of the program over to our directors of action and our director of fundraising. So most of you, a lot of you have met us. Some are new people, so that's why we want to make sure. So will the board, you know, like wave that you're here. So I'm Jerry Burton. I'm the co-executive director. I'm in charge of programs and a coalition coordinator. Sue Birch is also co-executive director. Sue covers legislative issues, helping us for when we are testifying for bills, and PAC coordinator. And she's also treasurer, of our PAC. Eva Love is the director of membership and volunteer coordinator. Madalena Robertson is our director of technology and media. Sarah Evans is our director of fundraising. Michelle Maese is director of outreach. Laura Campbell is director of actions. Samantha Glover, I don't know if Samantha's here yet, but she's director of youth outreach and up in Reno. Tricia Methner is our secretary, and Lenorine Briley is our treasurer. So I am turning it over to Sue to update us on how we did with our PAC.
Hi, everyone. Hey, it seems like a long time ago that we had the primary. It was really only about a month and a half ago, but geez, everything that's happened. Anyway, in the primary, we had endorsed 31 candidates that were running. We only had, and I'm kind of proud of this, we only had 5 losses out of that 31. 17 won their primary outright. Oh, thanks, Eva. 6 are in a runoff for the general election, and 3 won their races completely and will take office, I think, at the first of the year. Those 3 wins, I got to say, we had never endorsed judicial candidates, and we were kind of terrified, just a little bit. but we endorsed six judicial candidates. 3 won and will become justices, and 2 are in runoffs. So kind of pleased for the first time out with that statistic when it comes to judicial candidates. As the PAC, we did donate well over $4,000. 2 candidates in the primary. It's going to be an incredibly competitive general election, which is why we're trying to start the volunteering now. So we hope you will help us continue to support not only candidates for equality, but they all fit the bill when it comes to reproductive rights and being pro-choice candidates. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I'm turning it over to Laura now, right? Okay, you go for it, Laura.
Thank you, Sue. Hi, everyone. I am Laura Campbell, Director of Actions, and I'd like to welcome Cisco Aguilar. He's running for Secretary of State, and we just want to ask Cisco a few questions. Get to know him a little better, get to know the office and what the position does. Hi, Cisco.
Hi, Laura. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Jerry. Hi, Ellen. Good to see you. Welcome home. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you on this Sunday afternoon. I know, Sundays are a time for reflection and looking upon the week to figure out where we need to go and what activities we need to be doing. And these days, I'm a lot busier than normal, but excited about it and excited to be out there engaging with voters and talking to them about their challenges, their issues. And I have to say, the decision that the Supreme Court recently made as it relates to women's decision to decide their own health is an important one, and we need to protect that. And when we talk about our freedoms and our fundamental rights, there's nothing more than voting that protects that. And so this election cycle is more about access to the ballot and keeping that access. Seeing what we were able to accomplish, the legislature and the governor have done a phenomenal job of increasing that access, whereas Nevada has become one of the model states in the country. And we need to continue to fight for that. So the role of Secretary of State has 2 components. One is you are the regulator for voting. You ensure that the rules are being followed, the law is being followed, and if it's not, you engage and figure out how we protect our right to vote. The other area is more the corporate filings, the security filings. As a lawyer, I've done corporate filings. It's not always easy. And I think we really need to look at the Secretary of State's office and say, how do we do a better job of ensuring that small businesses are using the Secretary of State's office to the greatest extent and making it easy for them. As a lawyer, sometimes I say this and people don't like what I have to say, but I think we should figure out a way that small businesses can use the Secretary of State's resources, do their corporate filings without having to hire a lawyer, because it is complicated. It's not easy. And we need to figure that, especially today, we live in a very technology-driven world. The Secretary of State's office should match that and make it as easy as possible for small businesses. The other is, Secretary of State has the greatest database in the world. They have contact to every business owner in this state, and we should be using that to find out what it is we can do better to serve them so that they can focus on what they do well, and that's running their business. But I know the more important issue and the exciting issue is the voting and voting access and ensuring that everybody has that opportunity to vote. One thing that I think is really outstanding, it's pretty phenomenal, and we should be proud of it, but doesn't mean the work is done and we have more to do, is we had an increase of over 25% participation in our Native communities. That's incredible, but there's more work to be done, and I'm excited to get out there and meet with all 27 of our communities and tribes and figure out how I can do a better job advocating for them. So with that, I don't get to speak to my mom very often, but had the opportunity to catch up with her today, and we were talking because I sent her a draft of our video that's going to come out, our commercial, and she's a strong presence in my commercial. And she's a strong presence because she's one of the most important, or is the most important female in my life. She's strong as heck. She's feisty as heck. She is adamant about doing what's right and protecting those that don't have a voice. And today we had that conversation and reminded again about why we are where we are today. And it's being out there and fighting for those that we think need to have someone represent them. So it was a fun conversation. I told her I was speaking to all of you today, and that made her even more happy. So she's a fighter. I think I've got a little bit of me in that from her. And so let's go do this together. I can't do it without you. So thank you for the support. Thank you for the future support that I know you're going to be out there doing. And let's get everybody to the polls to send a message that Nevada is making a strong determination of who we want to be and where we want to go in the future. So thank you. Open to questions.
Yeah, thanks, Cisco. And we'd like to meet your mom if she's a feisty woman. We like feisty women. We're a bunch of feisty women in this Zoom today. I know I'm one, and I know like Sue's one and Jerry's one, like the whole board. But I do have a few questions for you. So why are you a pro-choice candidate?
Yeah, that's, it's a hard decision. It's a hard question to answer directly. And it's not, as a male, it's not my responsibility to tell a female what decision she should make. And it comes down to that, something as simple as that.
Yeah, that's sometimes we need to hear that from males. I mean, and I feel like a lot of males on the other side are really trying to make that decision, and we're not going to have it. So thank you for that. So you already kind of said what the Secretary of State does, but can you is there anything else that you'd like to add to that?
I mean, there are 8 divisions within Secretary of State's office, but I think I talked about the 2 most important ones that impact everybody's daily life. The others are there, they exist, and they're administrative function, but the 2 I talked about are the most impactful, and that's where my priorities will be.
Well, perfect. So we're going to go into the voting part of it, because that's really important, especially because we saw that the Nevada Independent estimated that 4,500 ballots were rejected because a signature didn't match, a signature was missing, or even a phone number was missing. So once a ballot gets rejected, it goes through this whole process to get to kind of get passed. Why is it important for voters to check their voter registry before the upcoming general election?
I think if you look at Commissioner Ross Millers, who was a previous Secretary of State, you look at his last election cycle and when he went through in his election, I think that election is a latest example of why every vote counts and why every vote matters, because we can get down to, tens of votes to make the decision on the outcome of candidate we want representing us in Nevada.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, when I saw the number 4,500, I was like, oh, wow. It doesn't seem like a big number, but it really is. I mean, every vote counts.
I mean, the margin of error, that is the margin of error. And if we're not watching that margin of error, we could have some outcomes that we necessarily do not want, especially in my race, right? You look at my race, you look at my opponent, you look at where his priorities are, and you start to go, oh no, that's not in the best interest. And if you look at the 2 of us, it's no longer about party. It's not about Republicans. It's no longer about Democrats. It's about all Nevadans. And what he could potentially do to us as a state is scary. And that's why I'm fighting as hard as I can. Again, you look at the 24 election, Nevada will probably determine who the next president of the United States is. And if you have a Secretary of State like my opponent, that could become a very, very scary situation. Not only would we impact Nevadans, but we'd impact every citizen in this great country. Yeah,
totally. So now if you think, so we're going to get all our mail-in ballots. Everyone's going to get them again. And I'm going to get my mail-in ballot in me and I'm going to be like, okay, is this right? Is everything okay? How can someone check their voting registration? Because I know that in Nevada it's so easy to register, it's so easy to check. So what are the simple steps they need to take?
Well, it's just going online and checking your voter registration, right? It's as simple as that and promoting that. And, I haven't done it and I should do it, but I know I'm registered because I voted during the primary. But it's making sure people understand and know how to access that information, because it is pretty easy, it is pretty simple, and we just need to make sure people are educated about it.
Yeah, I had my very best friend in the whole wide world. She went to go vote in the primaries and realized she was an independent, so she couldn't vote for the Democrats. And I go, get onto the Secretary of State office and change
now there's same-day voter registration, so that issue is even more addressable because of same-day voter registration. So she wouldn't be precluded from voting where she wanted to vote. She just needed to re-register on that day.
Yeah, so that's what she did. She re-registered and made it so that she could vote for Democrats. She wanted to make sure that she voted blue all down in the primary. So, and then just one off ball, just kind of keep it fun. Are you in Reno or are you in Las Vegas?
I'm in Las Vegas.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you had a friend who came to town to Las Vegas for the very first time, where is the first place you take them?
Ooh, that's a good question. I live in the Arts District. I live downtown. And so this is my favorite place. We'd go for a walk. We'd go to Bungalow Coffee. And then we'd go to probably Esther's or, the pizza place.
Yeah.
And there's a great brewery. I mean, there's lots of breweries now down here. And some of the murals, the Las Vegas mural, I think it's on Colorado Street, is one of my favorites. And so that's where I would take a visitor to do whatever selfie they wanted to do to present our great city.
Oh, that's a good answer. I love the Arts District. It's probably one of my favorite places. Huddle Brewery is my favorite.
Yes. I've lived down here the last 10 years, and I have to say every day
Oh,
I'm
you were
amazed
lucky.
how
Yeah.
much it has changed, but still respecting. We do have challenges, and that's, every day I walk to Bungalow to get a coffee, you see those that are struggling, and it's just heartbreaking to say, what can we do to be better? How can we better so they're better? And it's just a constant reminder. You go out to Summerlin and everything looks so perfect all the time, which is great. And it is beautiful. It's just, I like being where you feel that life is hard and you need to recognize it.
Well, thank you. And I hope we can help you be elected and make our state even greater. So thank you, Cisco, for your time. I really appreciate it. I know you're really busy, and look forward to speaking to you again.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm around anytime. Please reach out, keep me educated, and let's continue to fight the fight. So thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
I hope everyone enjoyed that little interview with Cisco, who's running for Secretary of State. I am now going to pass it over to our Director of Fundraising, Ms. Sarah Evans.
Hey guys, thank you so much. And I have the wonderful opportunity of introducing one of my favorite people, Ellen Spiegel. I just adore you. I think you're amazing. But I think everybody here has the one big question on their minds. Could you please explain exactly what a comptroller is? What do they do? And how you're going to work in that office?
So thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you, everybody, for having me and actually for paying attention to this office. One of the things that's been kind of an interesting, eye-opening thing for me is the realization that most people don't know what the controller does. So it's not just the folks on this call, it's people statewide. It's just about everybody. And then the other piece that's been kind of eye-opening is that most people don't care because they don't understand. They think it's kind of like bookkeeping or something. And yes, the office has those roles. But the big three things that the controller does is, number one, pays the bills of the state. Number two, collects money that's owed to the state so the checks don't bounce. Number three, lets everybody know where we stand. The controller is also on the NDOT board, that's the Department of Transportation board, and on the Executive Branch Audit Committee. So while everybody's falling asleep hearing that explanation, the way that I like to think about it is the controller, and this is true, the controller is the chief fiscal officer for the state. So if you think about like a CFO for a corporation, they're in charge of a lot of the financial strategy and what do they do, and what the controller is, what do we do to take the state's assets and better make it work for the state, and really maximize the use of the money that we have available to us. So like everybody's concerned about inflation now. I don't know a single person who doesn't care about inflation, hasn't been feeling the pinch of it, whether it's going to get gas, going to the supermarket, tons of inflation. So the legislature passed a budget, and the state has to be spending its money within that budget. And now all of a sudden we have inflation. So how do you deal with something like that? Because you don't want to cut back on services. You don't want to do. As controller, I would increase the collection of debt that's owed to the state. It's been a problem. There's tens of millions of dollars that are sitting out there waiting. And I know how to find the money. I know how to get the money. And that will let us preserve programs that are important to all of us. That's something the controller can do. You think about something like climate change. And you say, well, what does the controller possibly have to do with climate change? Well, sitting on the NDOT board, I'm already talking to people about policies and things that we can be doing to be reducing our carbon footprint, keeping our air quality, making it even better, and then doing things so that we can maintain our roads and our other transportation systems, not just so that tourists can get here, but so that those of us who live here and work here can get around and can get to where we need to be. You talk about things like unemployment. and recession, and people are scared about it, and it's justifiably so. I spent 10 years in the legislature, and I survived the economic downturn from last decade, and then during the early days of the lockdown and the pandemic, I was in office, and a lot of my constituents lost their jobs or had their hours cut back, and it was horrible. And I've actually come up with an idea for a program that I'm calling the Right Track program that would let people especially who are unemployed or underemployed, start businesses and get their license fees waived for the state for the first 6 months, provided they agree to get mentoring. So we take down a barrier to entry for these folks, and we make it much more likely that they'll be successful. That's something that I can do as controller, and I've already spoken to the governor about it. It's something that's just near and dear to my heart. Then you talk about things like reproductive rights, and you talk about the ERA. And no, the controller can't necessarily do things directly, but as somebody who get opportunities to speak, and you get opportunities to be networking and doing things and reaching out to opinion leaders statewide, and that can have a profound effect. And I just wanted to take a second, if you don't mind, to talk about something that I did earlier this year that I'm very, very proud of, related to the ERA. So when I was in the legislature, I voted to ratify the ERA at the federal level. And we were one of the last 3 states to ratify the ERA. And I think everybody in this call or meeting knows that the federal archivist wouldn't publish the ERA in the Constitution, wouldn't publish the 28th Amendment, and which is horrible. I had the opportunity earlier this year to sign on to a brief in one of the lawsuits that's going on to force the archivist to publish the ERA and for it to really take its place as part of the Constitution the way it does. I voted for it, and the votes that I cast on behalf of my constituents were ignored by someone who's not even an elected official at the federal level. But something I also want to share with you is one of the lawyers I was working with sent me a copy of the Constitution with the ERA in it, and when I saw it, it just really touched me. So there you can see the 28th Amendment, passed by Congress March 22nd, 1972, ratified January 27th, 2020. Section 1, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. Section 2, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Section 3, this amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification. Well, we passed that date this past January. So it's really supposed to be the law of the land. And as somebody who has been an elected official and hopes to continue to be of public service, I'll be able to be at the forefront fighting for all of us. So I know I spoke a lot, but thanks.
You're fine. You're fine. It's amazing. Love it. I just wanted to ask you, tell us what happened in your life that made you so passionate about being pro-choice.
You know, a number of things happened. I was going to say I'm a woman of a certain age. So I still remember the days before Roe v. Wade. And I was growing up, I was about 10 years old when Roe v. Wade was, went through. And I remember as a child, I would often watch the news at night, with my parents, and I would see stories on the news. I would see 2 different kinds of stories that both came up pretty often. So one of them was always about women who got illegal abortions and wound up either getting really, really, really sick or dying because they had a botched abortion. And I think that the news media carried a lot of those stories so to scare young girls into not having sexual relations. And it just really angered me that girls who were not very much older than me were going through this. So that was one of the things that happened. The other thing that happened is there were also a lot of stories in the news about domestic violence and about women, particularly women who were not employed outside of the home, who would be victims of domestic abuse, and they would say that they couldn't get away because every time they turned around, they were pregnant again, and they didn't have the financial wherewithal or the courage to go off on their own, and that used to anger me too, because women needed to have control over their bodies. Women needed to have control over their destinies. And I saw what happened when it was taken away from people. And I just kind of have said, not on my watch.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much for all your bravery in being an elected official that got our Constitution ratified. One question, what was the biggest barrier you faced as an elected official trying to get the Equal Rights Amendment on the Nevada state Constitution?
You know, I would say that probably one of the biggest barriers that we had was getting the wording right, because it has to pass twice with the exact same wording. And you have to be really careful that somebody doesn't come in and put through an amendment that changed the wording, because then that sets you back 2 more years or 1 more session at a minimum.
I didn't know that. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, last fun question. I'm going to copy Laura's question because I think it's a great one. Where would you take somebody from out of town who just landed in Las Vegas?
Well, so this is kind of a funny thing. I live in Henderson, and when people come into Las Vegas, everybody wants to go to the Strip, and I don't blame them. I always take people to the Strip. I take people to downtown Las Vegas, but I also make sure that I take them on a hike in the Pittman Wash. I adore the Pittman Wash, and when you go down there, and I don't know if everybody here has been there, especially the Northern Nevadans, but when you're in the Pittman Wash, you do not feel like you're in the middle of a city. You feel like you're in the middle of the wilderness. And I've been involved with Friends of the Pittman Wash for, I don't know, 15 or more years. And it is wonderful. And it is wonderful to just be in the middle of nature and have all this lush foliage. And it's just wonderful. And people are always amazed to see the natural side of Las Vegas. So I make sure to do that too.
I love that so much. Well, thank you again so much for being here and letting me put you in the hot seat. I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor back over to Miss Amazing Laura.
Thank you.
I guess I should unmute myself. Okay, great. So now, obviously, what we're here for today is volunteer opportunities. Again, thank you, Cisco, and thank you, Ellen, for hopping on and letting us ask you some questions. And we hope we can pass those questions around on social and get you guys some views and more people learn about what your roles do, what your roles are, or what you want to be. So we, like Jerry said earlier, we've gotten a lot of emails and phone calls on like what they can do to volunteer. I think with Roe v. Wade and everything that's been going on, everything we see every day, everyone's just kind of fired up but don't know what to do. So we're going to make it easy. You guys, Madalena's going to share a link on the chat to if you want to do a certain kind of volunteering. There's text banking, there's phone banking, there's canvassing. If you want to write an op-ed for a newspaper, we can help you get set up for that. Maybe plan a fundraiser if you want to host something at your house. We'd love to get that set up. And that way we can find out what you're more interested in, and we can kind of separate into groups and get that information out there. We're going to be getting stuff, more information on different text events and phone banking events and canvassing from candidates, and that way we can send that over to you guys, and then you guys can decide if you want to help or not. And we're going to be busy helping candidates, and I hope you can join us. One of the big things we want to do now, and something we can do now, something we can do every day while you're on your phone, is social media. So everybody has a Facebook, everybody has an Instagram, everybody has a Twitter, or at least I hope everyone does. And everyone sees stuff that goes viral. Something gets shared so many times, eventually it'll come, everyone sees it. So that's kind of what we want to try to do. We want to have a Twitter group, a Facebook group, and an Instagram group where we can send you posts to share. And the way we see it is like you keep seeing a billboard so many times for that hamburger, you want that hamburger. So that's kind of what we're going for. So if you want to be a part of our social media groups and help us share some content about the ERA, about candidates, about choice, and about other things that Nevada Now is very passionate about, please go onto the volunteer form. There should be a space, right, Madalena, where you can put your handles for your different social medias, right? You can give me a thumbs up. I think so. There should be. If not, you can go ahead and put it onto the chat here, and we can go from there. We want to get started in the next couple of days. Also, the Nevada Democratic Victory, they had a party and they opened up their Henderson office yesterday, and they will also actually are going to have a weekend of action next week. And we will send you. We're going to promote that on our social media. So if you're part of a group, you'll get it, and if you follow us, you'll get that information as well. I do know it is next weekend. We also are going to be hosting a postcard party on August 6th from 1 to 4, and more information for that will follow. And that's it for now for volunteering. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it on the chat. I'd be more than happy to answer. And we want to just share some of our fun stuff that we've done. Eva, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and share the graphic I made. You know, we've been busy with helping Susie Lee. There was a house party that we went to for kicking off primary voting, and that was a lot of fun. We had a great time with Susie. We had an event with NARAL Artifice, and Governor Sisolak was there. We had our ERA movie premiere, Still Working 9 to 5, which was so good. I laughed, I cried, so many emotions happened. Justin Jones campaign kickoff, that was so much fun. We saw so many fun faces there. Let's see what else. Oh, we had our coffee talks, which was kind of something more for the youth, where they were able to like kind of ask their questions and kind of what even though they can't vote and they're younger, like how the overturning of Roe v. Wade affected them and what they can do to help. We've had rallies. You see, we have Jerry and Sarah on there, and then we had our one of my personal favorite ones was a paint and sip with Planned Parenthood, where we painted our orgasms, and that was so much fun. We had a great time, and they had a great food, and it was fun to talk to people and see what everyone painted. And I hope we can do more of these now that more people are in person and we're being safe. Hopefully, and we love sharing these on our social, and I hope that all of you can join us if you can. Sorry to have missed the coffee talk. Oh yeah, hopefully we can get another one going. That would be great if we had it on the south side of town. We wanted to keep it kind of central and at the Arts District, to kind of give everyone a chance. And we had a really good turnout, and we had a really good turnout in Reno. And we kind of did it with not really knowing what we wanted to do. We kind of did it really quickly. And like I said, we had a really good turnout, and it just made me so happy that the youth had questions and wanted to be involved. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah to talk about some fundraising.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I agree, guys, any ideas that you guys might have for fundraising events, please share them with me. We love to hear some feedback. But right now we're doing a fundraiser kit, like a self-starter kit. And this is going to be a lot of fun. It's just an easy, quick way for you to get some garb and then hopefully pass it out. We use the term sticker up. So you'll get a pack of stickers and you just stick those suckers wherever you can, because we're trying to get the word out as much as possible about the option number 1, which is going to be on the ballot come November. And it's just a get some garb, some Nevada Now t-shirt. As you can see in our graphic, that, $30, you get one of the packs, $55, you get both of the packs, and then for $100, you'll get both packs and a Nevada Now t-shirt. Again, we're going to be looking to do some additional events coming up soon. We'll keep you guys in the loop. But if anybody would like to host an event or has any other good ideas for any other fundraising, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. So with that said, I think I'm passing it back over to Jerry to close us out.
Well, and I think we were talking about having some time for questions. We're still doing pretty good on time. And I put in the chat, please take time to fill out the volunteer form while we're hanging out here. If there's any questions you have, I think we mentioned you can pick more than one thing to volunteer for. So I've seen, I get the notifications over getting things. I see some volunteer forms coming in already. So that's exciting. So Laura, do we want to go ahead and have, I know you, in your plan you sent to me, we talked about having some questions. That sound good?
Yeah, if anybody has a question to ask, feel free.
Or ideas to share.
Yeah, ideas. That would be great. Yeah. Let's see.
I see Mercedes. Hi, Mercedes. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to see who else on here is in Northern Nevada. I was so bummed. I was visiting family in South Dakota when you had the coffee talk, so I didn't get to attend, but I'm really excited to meet some of the people who are involved with now out here in Northern Nevada.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely get you set up with Samantha on our board. She is like, for how young she is so fired up, and every time I talk to her, I mean, you just get so excited to like work and get going. So we'll definitely get you set up with Samantha and Rosie with NARAL. She's awesome. We worked with her on the coffee talks. So maybe with the next, if we do something else, maybe we can get you set up with that.
And then Samantha is setting up, she's not only on our board and has helped us with period poverty bills and that sort of thing. She's also starting a Generation Ratify. It's a group around the country that young people are working on the Equal Rights Amendment, but also on reproductive rights. They've taken on both. And so she's going to be representing us on the Generation Ratify board as well. So I think she's somebody, if you're in the North, we definitely want to put you in touch with Samantha because she's doing great things, especially with the youth. And Mercedes, I think that would really be something good for you to talk to them. So with your campaign.
Yeah. If you could connect me with her and the person from NARAL that you know up here, maybe through a text message so we don't have to wait for another event, that would be awesome.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jerry's our connector. She connects everyone. I love it. Sharon, you have a question?
Who was it?
Sharon Yeager.
Sorry, my microphone's muted. I attended the March on Washington with the Women's March organization, and we're having the women, well, I don't actually know if it's Women's March that's sponsoring it, but the Women's Convention in Houston, August 12th. And I believe now is being represented there, but I will be attending, and I kind of wanted to maybe confer with somebody at Nevada now to find out if there was any, particular, how I could liaise between Nevada Now and, the group. If I find some local people there, I'd like to be able to encourage them to join this organization. So I was wondering if I could liaise with somebody in the organization before I go.
Sure. If you want to send me something, just Jerry, Jeri at nevadanow.org.
Okay.
I was talking to someone on a national level who was going and telling us about it, and I do know National Now is involved as well. So
right.
Yeah, let's talk and we can coordinate.
Okay, I'll send you an email. Thank you.
That would be great.
And I see Jamie asked, is there ever a chance for us to team up with Planned Parenthood or Wild West to streamline our efforts and make a bigger impact? Yeah, we are always talking to Planned Parenthood and Westwild. I I know right now they're not taking a lot of volunteers because they just, when the decision was overturned, they got completely slammed with requests. But we're always in talks with them, and we're always trying to work. We always work together. So whatever we do, they're mostly going to be somewhat involved. So you'll see Victoria and Sarah and Macy. They'll probably, we all work very closely together.
And our Coffee Talk was in coalition with NARAL, Planned Parenthood, Wild West Fund. So yeah, we do work together often. So we'll be doing a lot more of that.
Michelle, if you can email me who your friends did the drag queen bingo, that sounds like a fun fundraiser to do. That would be something cool to do. I would totally do that in a heartbeat. Any Nevada?
Hey, Laura, I'm gonna jump in here real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
I know the candidates are putting in some of their information. That's candidates. That's part. If you're an endorsed candidate with us, that's part of our volunteer action is to coordinate some of these things. Especially, I see Venetia's about postcards and all that. And I know one of the volunteers on here has volunteered to use her home, and Michelle Meads, we will have you schedule a postcard party. But yeah, candidates, just let us know what you've got going on, and we'll coordinate it with the group we're putting together right now. And Mercedes, we can always get people to phone bank for you from down here too. But Samantha does have a group of activists that she's recruited up there, so it'll be a good connection.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. And yeah, keep an eye out, especially on our social. We've been a lot more active on there. And I got to brag, we went from like 200 followers down. We're like in the thousands now. So I feel pretty.
Like 1,100 or more, yeah. So
yeah, we're doing pretty good. So we're hoping to get a lot more engagement. And so any follows, any saves, any sharing that you can do, we'd really appreciate that, because the more we can get our content out there to everyone out in the digital universe, especially in Nevada, the better, because I feel like that's kind of how everyone's getting their information nowadays. So if we can make it a positive thing and have it help us, that would be even better.
Exactly. And if we can have a good social media team, which right now we're started off really great with Laura Campbell, Sarah Evans, Madalena Robertson on our board. As you can see, we're trying to include younger people, and Laura's on to me. It's like, we need young people involved with Nevada Now. So, join us. And for our social media, our idea with the team would be to be able to send us things that we've missed. If you see something we should do, our graphics have been going really well between Madalena and Laura. And we're coming up with some ideas to do some graphics that would be educational. How do you check your voter registration? Why, what is the state ERA? How will that help people in Nevada? And so if we have some ideas on things like that, we'll be having some regular educational fun posts as well. So that
I think I saw in the chat somewhere somebody asked about how the state equal rights amendment will help us with repro rights. I think I saw that. And I was also going to mention if we could put our handle for Instagram into the chat, that would be great. And if you're not already following us, please follow us.
And Twitter too. If you can
and Twitter and Facebook.
Facebook, yeah. So on the state ERA, we're pretty active with it. And Caroline Funches, I see her, the AAUW has been involved, and we've got a few other organizations. And so, for instance, they just had a case in Utah where they used the state ERA to stop their abortion ban. So we know it'll work. We know it can make a difference. And we know that if people don't have, the right to their own body and own decisions, then, and if if we're in the Constitution, and as I put in the chat, but our Nevada ERA is very inclusive, and so that it's equality for all. And it will affect everyone in our state if we can get this passed, when we get this passed. And to be clear, people have asked this a few times. I know Sandra was reminding me that we need to keep telling people this. It already passed twice in the legislature. So this is a ballot question. It only needs to pass once, and then it goes into our Constitution. And we're seeing around the country, Alito basically said it goes back to the states. So states have got to they're trying to do the opposite, like in Kansas. They have a bill right now to put anti-abortion language into their Constitution. So we in Nevada, to protect ourselves, have got to get the ERA ratified. The governor's done some things to help, but when the legislature gets back, they're going to have some ideas to help people in our state with choice. It's just so important. So, and I see Anna has her hand up.
I just wanted to say, I know a lot of people shared the endorsed candidate list for the primary. When people share it again for the general, please feel free to tag the candidates. The judicial candidates, our hands are a little bit tied in strange ways because of our positions. So we're a little bit more limited as to what we can do and say. But feel free to tag us and tag our Facebook pages. And if you don't know how to contact us, most of us have our phone numbers pretty public on our websites. Call us up and we'll give it to you so that you can tag and mark us so that the other people you're sharing it with know where to find us and know who we are when they vote. Because I can't say enough thank yous for the endorsement. It does help a ton. And I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. So thank you very much.
So Anna, while we have you, Anna, I have a question. One of the things we're talking about doing is having candidates give us something we can use on social media for, so not judicial, they'd be doing a pro-choice, why I'm a pro-choice candidate, why I support the state ERA. And I know with judicial, that's more difficult. How can we word questions for the judicial candidates where they can work around that and show people where they stand on wherever you can.
Yeah. Okay, the questions to us have to focus on our background and experience most of the time.
Okay.
And unfortunately, a clever judicial candidate can give you almost whatever answer you want or whatever answer they think you want. But if you ask us questions about our background and experience, eventually I think it's going to come out where people stand on issues. So if you focus on that, I hope that should be enough, but that's essentially where you need to focus with judicial candidates, background experience. And especially the female judicial candidates, a lot of us will say outright that without certain birth control rights and without rights to our own body and choices, most of us wouldn't be where we are with our careers. It wouldn't have been possible. My mother started having kids at 19 years old. Because of birth control, because of benefit and access that I had, I was able to build a whole career and didn't have my daughter until I was 39 years old. I know that's not even possible for some people. And because of the limitations that they've got on them. And if we don't protect people's rights, it's going to become impossible for more and more people. And it gets harder and harder to build a career as a woman if you have certain limitations on you, especially when finances essentially will determine what rights you have if we continue in the vein we're continuing.
Very well put. Thank you so much.
Now, if you haven't filled out the volunteer form, you've had time. Do it.
That's what you're here for, to learn how to volunteer.
You want to volunteer? We have plans.
And we need you to write postcards. It could be, like a lot of people don't like to canvass, but you could, help with texting for candidates or writing postcards. We had a really fun postcard party and hope the next one's just as fun. So there's lots of ways to get involved. And, it could be as simple like we're talking about of ideas for social media. It might not be your thing to make a graphic to post, but give us some ideas.
For you.
Yeah, we'll make it. That's right. Do we have any other questions?
Can we put up that fundraiser graphic again?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that real quick before we go. Can you get that, Eva? Can we see it? Mine's kind of small on my screen, but.
No, I mean, it's good. I just want you to understand any money that comes from this is part of it is going to go to our PAC, which supports candidates, which a good number of them are here on this call. And the other part of the money on this goes to help support the state ERA. You know, we like I said earlier, we gave over $4,000 to candidates in the primary. It's going to be a very tough general election. We need help. I mean, we need to get our pro-choice candidates elected. We need to get the state ERA passed. There's just no two ways about it. I hope you will consider. Do we have we do have the donation link on there. I hope you will consider donating to us. We've done some phenomenal things. We're on track to beat our 2020 totals, which I think we did over $8,000 to candidates. We're way ahead of the game right now. But it's going to be a fight up and down the ticket. So we hope you'll help us out because as I explained earlier, we've already gotten some people through the first round, and it's on to the second round. I really want to get this ERA passed too. So any help you can give, we definitely appreciate it. I mean, it all goes straight back to candidates or to our effort on the ballot question. So if you've already donated, thank you so much. It's always appreciated, and we hope you'll volunteer too. So thanks.
Yes, and so we just envision you getting your volunteer packet, and you can go out in your Now shirt with your ERA. We have ERA fans that are included that are very fun and keep you cool while you're canvassing. And you'll have we have some bandanas. People are wearing the green bandanas for reproductive choice right now. So I got one when I was at Zoe's. We both wore our green bandanas, and I thought that'd be fun to have in the reproductive, the Keep Abortion Legal packet. So that'll be included, and we just want to get everybody out working on issues and for candidates, and then you'll have your swag to go do that. When you go canvass for Ellen, you'll have your Now shirt and carry your ERA fan with you, and you won't be hot. So, any other questions? All right, great.
Jerry, this is Joni Payne.
Oh, hi, Joni.
Hi. I just got back from some family obligations in Texas, down by Galveston, and in Utah. And I was a senior in high school when Roe v. Wade became law. And so for my whole adulthood, it's been law. And the young women that I'm running into in Texas and Utah and Nevada that are millennials and Gen Z especially, they're just now understanding the impact that this has had on them. And so I'm concentrating, I have family and friends that are UNLV now, in getting these young people involved and getting them registered to vote. And so I think that there could be a shift, but I think it's going to take those of us from the old guard to really get in there and push for this. So they just had no idea the personal impact that this is having on them. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going to be available for a lot of stuff come the end of August and through October. But that's what I'm going to concentrate on now, is getting the young vote out.
And that's kind of why we wanted to really kind of focus on social media, because that's kind of what the young, I mean, I do a lot of social
they do.
media. I'm in my 30s, and I have Instagram, I have Facebook. I'm really bad at Twitter. I always joke to Jerry, I'm like, I don't know Twitter. I can do Instagram, you do Twitter. And that's kind of how we're trying to get the youth involved, and hopefully like they can spread it. So if you know someone who, like a younger person who's on social media and doesn't follow Nevada Now, you don't have to be a member to follow us. We will take all the follows. We will welcome them with open arms.
Right. I'm passing all this information on to them. It's just important that they are informed and they are registered.
Yeah, no, totally. And we're going to have graphics about all that information and post a lot about voter registration, about the ERA, about reproductive rights. So hopefully they can share that, and hopefully you can share that as well. Thank you.
Right. And I'm the one on Twitter that's out there. I mean, I'm really surprised I have not been in Twitter jail yet, but I'm promoting all of this too. So
great. Great. Yeah. So you'll definitely hear from Jerry then.
Thanks. We need your help. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
And that's why we had the coffee talks both up in Reno and here in Vegas, was for the young. We advertised it to people as the youth. We wanted people from high school, college age, and we got certainly up in Reno, predominantly that was the age group that Samantha had invited and knew the people. But in Las Vegas, we had a lot of moms with their daughters, and it was kind of a mix of both. But it was, we planned on having maybe 5-10 people show up, and it was at least 30 or more were there, and we kept them very busy making coffee. it was a good turnout. So, and then as I was mentioning about Generation Ratify, they're going to help us with getting us some fun things to do for youth. Like they have like chalking stencils and these fun stickers and car magnets and things that they're going to help us with for the state ERA, because people around the country are watching and think that our state ERA might be the only ERA that actually gets taken care of this year. New York is working on one too, but they don't know if it'll get through their Senate. It's passed once there. So, the country's watching us. We helped in Nevada Now, and a lot of people in Nevada helped when Virginia ratified for the federal ERA, because as Ellen said, a lot of us worked to get Nevada ratified, then Illinois, and then we needed Virginia. So a lot of us, I spent a week out there helping organize things. And now people are looking to us to help us with our state ERA. So there's a lot of excitement and ERA activists around this, but also a lot of people, especially young people, don't know about it. When Laura spoke at the rally, there were 2 different rallies after Roe, and Laura spoke at the one at the Sunset Park, and she talked about the ERA and how it would help reproductive rights, and it was like crickets, because a lot of those young people did not know about the ERA. So if we can get social media out there, we can, have the conversations. Sandra Cosgrove just had a really great program kind of educating about the ERA and talking about the state ERA. We just want it, like Laura said, if we just keep talking about the Equal Rights Amendment, and when people say, I have my pocket constitution that they made to put us in it, the 28th Amendment's in here. If we keep talking about it, and then it's on their ballot, they'll know why they need to vote for it. It polls really well. Before we really got going with the committee, they did some polling. If we get out progressive, we're nonpartisan, but I always kind of do that because we can't find anybody Republican that supports, our issues. If we ever do, we'll listen to it. But we need to get everybody out to vote, because then it will pass, and we will have such a fabulous ERA for Equal Rights Amendment. And it's so equality for all, and all groups should be working on this, whether it's age or disability or race. It covers everything. So it's just equality for all, and who could be against that? You'd be surprised. So we could use your help, and that's why we wanted to have the meeting. We've got so many things we're working on. We're working on a Dignity for Incarcerated Women bill. with Mass Lib and ACLU, and there's just so many things to get involved with. So whatever it is that you're interested in, as I was saying at the beginning of the program, I don't care if you work on animal rights. We need to all get together and get these candidates. I mean, we talk about Secretary of State you've seen around the country. Jim Marchand has already said out loud that he would not certify the election, and we know what he will do if he gets in. So we have some really important races, whether it's mayor or school board. We've got to really pay attention to all the way down the ballot. Every election matters, every office matters. So there you go. I'm preaching to the choir for the most part, but we cannot get discouraged. I think, when I told the story I get teary-eyed thinking about it. When it happened with Roe, my grandson was right next to me. Sorry. This has been hard for us. And we'd been all scrolling Twitter to see if we're losing our rights that whole week. We knew the Supreme Court was coming, down with it, and we knew it was coming. And the news, it was like breaking news. And my grandson sitting next to me, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I said, oh no, and I started to cry. And he's like, Grandma, what's wrong? And I said, Grandma works for equal rights. How I do, because how do you explain abortion to an 11-year-old? So I said, how Grandma works for equal rights? We just lost some. And so he asked me the other day, how's that equal rights thing going for Grandma? Because he knows, he saw how upset I was. And so we're all upset. And I have people say, I can't watch the news. It's just too upsetting. But we don't have that, we just can't. I was saying privilege. We don't have the ability we've got to get to work. So we need your help. We're all volunteers. We're all passionate about this. And, we know most of you are involved with us, and we need you. So that's my plea. Thanks so much.